MPs will vote later on Boris Johnson's proposal to hold a general election on the 12th of December. Ambassadors from the other 27 EU countries have this morning agreed to Britain's request to delay Brexit until the 31st of January. It's a flexible extension which will allow the UK to leave the European Union earlier if the Prime Minister's withdrawal bill was ratified. Well, joining me now is Georgina Wright, who's a senior researcher on the Brexit team of the non-partisan think tank, the Institute for Government. Georgina, thank you for joining us. So what do you think the EU 27 want to see with the extension that they granted?
Well, they definitely want to see some movement. I think when it came to an extension, it was always likely that they were going to grant one, but they did have three concerns. One was they didn't want a no deal or be blamed for it. Two, they really would like this to be the last extension because they want to move on to those crucial talks about trade and security and their future relationship. And of course, there was this sense that they wanted a focused mind here in Westminster, and they wanted to make sure that if they did grant an extension, it would make a difference, and that both sides agreed that this was a joint decision and not the EU imposing terms.
So that's what they want to see. Now, what do they actually expect to see?
Well, that's the key question. I think they're expecting some movement, but like much of Brexit, it's very unclear what's going to happen, and the ball is again firmly in the UK Parliament's court. What's going to happen? Are we going to have a general election or not? This side of 2020, and if we do have a general election, we have a new government, then what happens? But I think from the EU's perspective, they're really hoping that this deal will get through at some point.
And I suppose by giving the extension all the way to January the 31st, potentially, they allow some critics to say, well, this gives too much leisure, in a way, to MPs to procrastinate more. It takes the pressure off, some will say.
Yes and no, but at the same time, as I said before, the EU didn't want a no deal. They don't want a no deal, and they don't want to be blamed for it. So if they had gone for a shorter extension and we had a general election or we didn't, or MPs failed to pass that withdrawal agreement bill, then we would be venturing no deal territory, and the EU are very keen to avoid that.
So they're taking their fingerprints right off the outcome.
Well, I think they've shown that actually they are very keen to reach a deal and for the UK to leave with a deal. That's why they poured hours and hours into those negotiations 2 weeks ago. And the UK government and the EU have agreed a new legal text. They've endorsed it, and now it really is up to MPs to decide what happens.
And just give me then your parting thoughts on the lay of the land today and this week with all this huge speculation about elections, what date, 9th, 12th, etc.
Well, we know that Boris Johnson, Prime Minister, had a phone call with President Macron. What we've heard is that they were talking about a general election and trying to move things forward. I think everything's going to be on that this week. Are we going to have a general election in December, yes or no? Will it be on the 9th of December, as the Liberal Democrats would like, or will it be later? And if we don't have a general election, will government be fast-forwarding, trying to pass that withdrawal agreement bill for a delay that would actually end before the end of the year and would see the UK leave the EU before then?
Georgina, thanks so much for joining us as ever.